for that, is there?
Okay. No.
Thanks,
I was just wondering. I was like, okay, what happened last night?
Great. Okay. Are we set up? Are we rolling, Ollie?
Yeah, we're rolling.
So we're back on Radio Row. Our last interview of the week happens to be one of the best, one of the biggest, so we're delighted to say that coming on. I was going to go through all his playing career, the 5 Pro Bowls and the time in Miami and Philadelphia and Buffalo, but now he's got himself into a high-ranking position in the league. He's the Executive Vice President of Football Operations, and he's joining us here on Radio Row. Troy Vincent, how are you doing, sir?
It's been a packed week. coming from
one of those, yeah.
Orlando, the Pro Bowl, and now here in Atlanta, getting ready for Super Bowl 53, and I can't wait for kickoff.
I've made the same journeys, Troy. I feel you, buddy.
Yes.
Now, when we reach this point in the week for you guys, and there's actually, it feels like maybe the Saturday you can have a little bit of downtime before Sunday.
Downtime?
No? Yeah, Troy.
Downtime? What is downtime? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's like, look at this fandom, and then you think making sure that the 2 participating teams have what they need, and then all game day preparation, making sure the field, the technology was at the stadium earlier this week, making sure that from a safety standpoint, intercoms are working, bench areas the way that both clubs like them. So it's one of those weeks where you're fine-tuning and making sure everything. Not that during the regular season is not, but everything is perfect because you got so many eyeballs watching.
Are you the one non-Patriots fan in this building who's delighted they're back for a 9th time in 18 years? Because you know what they're going to ask for. They ask for the same every year, and it makes your life much easier.
Hey, listen. They're here. You know what to expect because they've been here so much. So you kind of have their itinerary. You just pull them back up, year after year is the same thing. And maybe a couple new people, but they're actually a pleasant. They're a club that you enjoy working with because they know what they want, and they are very specific about things that they need and want to get done.
I want people to know that I keep going to just adjust the level
he's giving
here,
me a pound here.
and Troy thinks I'm going to pound out, and that's fine. I'm good with it every single time. That's great. What are the biggest challenges for you of this week, of getting the teams here, of getting this all put together?
It's a new atmosphere for the Rams. So just getting everyone accustomed to making sure their practice facilities to and from where they want to practice, making sure that security, that the hotels are in the, not the conditions, but set up the way they want it to be. Families are coming in. So just logistically making sure all the things are tied up, making sure that there's no stone unturned. Every day there's football operations call, just working on process contingency planning, talking about opening the dome. Okay, making sure what's the time period. You start talking about anthem, who's going to be on the field, who's not going to be on the field, how are we moving guests on, how are we moving guests off, halftime performance, making sure that, hey, teams leave the field, performance goes, get off and get in the sideline, set up, ready to go again. So just thinking through all of those logistical things that must happen to make sure that the game is not affected.
It's the most spectacular part of the week is the halftime bit. It's insane how quickly it can they turn everything around. Having done the last 4 in stadium for the first time, seeing that whole operation is unbelievable.
Now, what I would say, working a game or halftime in a dome that is AstroTurf, you remove like a logistical nightmare because of practice. They need to practice on the field. So when you do stage setup, you're tearing up the grass and you got to repaint, you got to resod. Because it's a dome and a synthetic turf, you don't have to go up. That's one thing that you can take off the table for game preparation.
So when you have a week as big as this coming up, how frustrating is it then that everyone wants to ask you, as we're about officiating and reviewable calls and all that other side of things as well? Because anyone who's involved with the NFL, everyone wants to know, well, what happened in that Saints-Rams game? How are we going to make sure that doesn't happen again?
No, I embrace it because it's good for football. And one thing that we have to do in our role is be great listeners. We saw something that none of us we disliked, And now we talk about solutions. What are possible solutions? So now this is like gathering of information. So you hear it from, what's the fan input around officiating? What's the fan input around review? Same thing for the coach. Same thing for the player. So we're now gathering information, and in less than 2 weeks, we begin the process of just analyzing, reviewing, and then we'll see where we land.
As these Super Bowls come and go, we get increasingly closer to another big landmark, which is the next CBA negotiations. How would you term, see conflicting reports and different things back and forth, how would you term the current relationship between the NFL and the Players Union? And are you confident that you're in a place that when those negotiations come round, that can happen without lockouts and things like that?
Well, I'm confident in both leaders. I'm confident in Commissioner Goodell. I'm confident in DeMaurice Smith. They understand what's at stake. And I truly believe that the two will sit down as they have been. It's been work in progress, but they understand what's at stake, the game, and everyone's affected. So I have a tremendous confidence in both Roger and Dee that they'll get something done before anything happens about lockout and all of that other stuff. We don't want that. No one wants that.
Nobody, absolutely nobody wants that. Has Commissioner Goodell in any way spoken to you about that process and that relationship, considering your past with the NFLPA and your involvement with them prior to being involved with the league?
No, sir. And actually, that's one of the things that when I came on board, Commissioner has always respected my role as a player, as a union rep, my relationship just through time. He's always respected that. I've never got a question about what I think. He's respected, that part of my life and my relationship.
It's particularly important, CBA, potentially for us as with our UK hat on, because the feeling is that if a UK franchise is to happen, it's something that would need to be collectively bargained. At the moment, is it part of the league's plan to raise that issue in the next round of negotiations?
I think you have to talk about it because there's labor consequences that could arise if not agreed upon by both parties. And look, think about just what we've seen in our international series from not just the players but the fandom. It's like you go over there, still a big party. The games, the international market has embraced American football. And there's been talk about a franchise. We see players, international players going back and forth. So I do believe that both the union and management, they understand what's at stake. And that also pertains what's at stake internationally.
We're obviously at Super Bowl week. Immediately after this, we're going to see the first, not rival league, but different league, Spring League. The AF is about to start next week. And then next year, we're about to see the XFL start as well. Both have made clear, I've spoken to Oliver Luck and the guys at the AAF, that they in no way see themselves as a rival. I think we're past those days. How does the NFL view those leagues in terms of, do they see them as a positive? It keeps the football conversation going?
I think it's extremely positive. It's more football. It's more opportunities. It's actually it's opportunities for individuals at every level of football to be developed, every discipline to be developed. So this is good for football when you have spring leagues, summer leagues, other professional leagues. It's good for the game.
Just to come back to the London point, Commissioner Goodell in his press conference this week discussed that he believed that London was ready, that from a fan base and a facilities perspective, but not from a scheduling and fairness factor. Now, obviously, that's something that you are
number one
involved
priority
in. So, what are, you believe, the biggest hurdles between a team being in London and not?
Well, you talk about travel. You talk about how coming to and from. Do you play back-to-back games? You have, when a team travels over, should they get a bye week? So there's a lot of scheduling implications from a competitive standpoint. Right now, when teams play in London, for the most part, you come back and you play internationally. There's a bye. So you have to look at all of the factors so that you're not putting a club or a team in position where competitively they're at a disadvantage of